Let's welcome in our guy, Tom Murphy, who was in attendance for this game on Saturday night. Tom, as always, we appreciate you joining us, recapping this morning a big-time win. And we'll start with the defense. You start out 16-0 shutout in the first half. That's without Bumper Poole. Tom, what most impressed you about the defensive performance on Saturday night?
Well, I listened to the Texas quotes from their players yesterday, and Bijan Robinson's like, well, they did some things that we didn't practice for. And they brought pressure more aggressively than we really thought. So basically, those linebackers shooting gaps and getting in the backfield, they had several plays several first downs where they gained 7 or 8 yards. So you're in second and short. And a handful of times they had lost yardage runs on second down. Mm-hmm. I think they did a good job of rattling or, putting Hudson Card off of his game. He had deep receivers a couple of times and on the move, and he just missed them. So I just think that they got on top of Texas. Look, y'all, Texas was favored, and I just was concerned that they would have skill guys that Steve Sarkisian would find a way to hook them up and get them out on the flanks in man coverage and have some big plays. And Arkansas just really bottled them up. I think what happened overall was there was a real focus on the game plan for this game. And I think it may have come a little bit at the expense of, say, focus for Rice. And so, they had all those first half issues with Rice, got it together and won the game, and then unleashed what I believe it was Hayden Henry said. We've been practicing all off season. We've been focused all off season to win this game.
Yep, since January.
And so, exactly. So now they're 2-0, have a chance to go 3-0 before the SEC schedule hits, and they generated so much national buzz by that win on ESPN. It's the biggest moment in the program, I think, maybe since upsetting number 11 Florida in 2016. And they had just gotten crushed by Auburn the week before, and they lost to LSU the next week. But that was a big win, and this is the one that kind of puts you back on the map. And the national populace, who kind of had gotten used to seeing North Texas pull off that fake fair catch punt touchdown and losing to Western Kentucky in just horrible fashion, now has a different perspective on Arkansas football.
Tom, I also think what stood out was the atmosphere and the fans. And leading up all this week, you had before the game, during the game, after the game. And what Tommy said earlier I thought was perfect. Hunter Yurchek doesn't mind paying the fine that they're going to have to pay. I think it's $5,000 for the storm field, because what you did is you just sent a message to the entire college football world that Arkansas is back. How much of a factor do you think that crowd had on Hudson Card and the Texas offense on Saturday night?
I think it was a huge factor. I'm not sure that I saw necessarily a huge breakdown in communication or anything, but it just kind of unnerved you a little bit. I had headphones on the whole game because I'm listening to the broadcast and other things, and I could hear it through my headphones big time. And the times that I took them off, it was just a roar. And Arkansas fans have been waiting to unleash, and it all came together against, basically your arch rival who's coming back in the conference. And so the narrative became Texas is not ready for the SEC because you crushed them. And they dominated on both sides of the ball. There was never really a moment that you thought, oh, Texas is going to come back and win this game. There wasn't that moment. The pick and, the return and the touchdown that made it 16-7, you're like, okay, what's Arkansas going to do to respond? And then you got a 22-yard Traylon Smith run on the very next snap, and bam, 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 and a touchdown. And that combination of backs Arkansas used, that was just brilliant. And I think I was telling you guys last Thursday, to get your playmakers more touches, you got to stay on the field more. And they did that against Texas.
You kind of touched on my next question there, and that was the fact that Arkansas forced Texas to a 3-and-out. Arkansas gets the ball back, throws the interception on what was a really athletic play by Texas to get that interception. You're starting to get a little wobbly there for a moment at 16-7, and you mentioned it there. I thought that was the key moment, the Sentinel moment in the ball game, Tom. When Arkansas comes back and answers back to go back up 23-7. We've seen Razorback teams in the past crumble at that point and let their opponent get back in the game. You hit on it there. Was that the biggest moment of the game for you, looking back on it when Arkansas answered back after that Texas score off the interception?
Yeah, it may well have been, because if you don't score, if you go 3 and out on that drive and Texas somehow gets more points on the board, then it's a one-score game, and okay, all bets are off. Anything can happen. But no, they just took control. The offensive line, and I wrote about them prominently in my rewind today. It's a team. It's a unit that has taken a lot of criticism and frankly some ridicule for all the sacks they gave up in 2018 and 19. And this is largely a lot of the same guys. And now they're just playing better. And they got on top of a defensive front that had some big old boys on it. And I don't think you can underestimate their growth and the cutbacks. The running backs did a great job at seeing hole number one bottled up and cutting back and getting major. The Rocket Sanders touchdown was a thing of beauty. He was going basically toward right guard, and there was nothing there, and he cut back over the left edge and outran linebackers, and then the safety, B.J. Foster, who had a really good game, the guy with the pick, hit him on about the 5, and Sanders just walked him into the end zone. That was that, and Dominic Johnson's touchdown was something special too.
Yeah. Is this sustainable, Tom? I mean, everyone on one hand wants to be jubilant and point out how great Arkansas was, but then also in the next breath, hey, Texas isn't ready for the SEC. Well, Arkansas's got to be ready for the SEC too. As Ty pointed out earlier in the show, the next 4 opponents you have past Georgia Southern are ranked opponents as of today. Is what we saw Saturday night sustainable when you hit SEC play?
Yeah, they've got to have good game plans. And the question is, we don't know yet, but the intelligence we have is that last year they had good game plans, week after week. Even the games that they weren't as competitive in, they moved the ball on both Florida and A&M. And I mean, KJ's growth has to come along with this. They've got to develop more of a passing game for when the teams, limit their run more. KJ's threat in the passing game has got to grow. But for now, Razorback fans have every reason to be super excited. You're 2-0. You have a chance to go 3-0 with another home game. And then really the meat of the schedule hits. And based on what we know, they're going to be competitive in those games.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Now, Tom, one bad thing that came out of this game is Grant Morgan, unfortunately, on his own accord and on his own feet, was helped off the field. Do you think Coach Pittman gives us an update on his status, and have you heard anything concerning his future this week?
Haven't heard anything concrete on it yet, and I think Sam Pittman will be pretty vague about it, as is his deal. But I don't know what you can read into the fact he had the knee wrapped in ice and was on the sideline. A lot of times, if it's something super, super bad, they go in and, you don't see him anymore. But he was on the sideline. But he's so tough, I don't know if you can say definitively that, he's going to be okay in a few weeks. It's a season ender. He can play this coming Saturday. I don't know. Yeah. But we'll find out more as the week goes on.
To that point, though, there were some videos I saw just, looking at Twitter videos. He was clearly down on the field in the celebration. His wife ran to him on the field. He grabbed her up. And then, of course, the locker room video, you see him embracing Coach Pittman. So to your point, guys, if the injury was on the other end of the scale and you were really concerned or closer to that end, he probably wouldn't have been, front and center for some of those post-game moments that we clearly saw Captain Morgan in.
Yeah, and that's true. But he's such a tough guy that, I don't want to speculate. But I hope he winds up, because he's such an integral part of what they do. He had one series where he made 2 tackles, just stop guys stone cold. And it winds up being a 3 and out. So he's huge, and without him, your linebacker definitely takes a hit, and hopefully he'll be okay in a week or two and can carry on.
So, Tom, I guess the next question would be, when you talk about Georgia Southern, and there was a great Nick Saban quote that we're going to play tomorrow talking about Georgia Southern a couple years prior, how does this team not have an emotional letdown after that win Saturday night and do what they got to do against Georgia Southern?
Yeah, that's going to be a key question for Sam Pittman today, and he addressed it a little bit. Like, he says, our coaching staff has done really well at saying, okay, you're going to get all the pats on the back this weekend, but when Monday rolls around, big-time focus, big-time prep on Georgia Southern. It is hard to get, up emotionally week after week, and especially when you haven't, been used to, major successes. But I do think Arkansas is, out-talents Georgia Southern. You just don't want to get out-schemed with a triple option. But I do believe that Barry Odom, that they've looked at that these coaching staffs always look at the first 3 games, and so they've got a plan in place already, and now it's just a matter of going out and executing. I understand their quarterback, the lead quarterback's coming back after a suspension, and we're not sure if he's going to be the guy who runs the show or not. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup with Georgia Southern. But I understand why Arkansas is an 18-point favorite or so for the game.
Yeah, and what you'd like to see is, put this baby to bed early, and I'm not expecting that, but, to get it to a point where you could play some of the reserves. And Tom, selfishly, I'd like to see a little more Malik Hornsby and see what you have in your backup, because the handful of plays we got to see, I liked what I saw.
I think it would be, how long has it been since Arkansas really got on top of a team and then got to look at those guys?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some games in recent years where you're like, okay, this is a probability, and it didn't happen. So, yeah, getting well out in front, giving Malik some meaningful snaps, and that could be applied to across-the-board type stuff. I mean, I saw Jaden Johnson on the field the other day very briefly. Let's see what he's got, Give guys like Trent Gordon more snaps. You could apply that to every position unit on this team. The younger linebackers, if you're going to play Pooh-Paw, get him in there. So the receivers, set stuff up for Keyshawn Jackson. Make sure he gets touches. You got to get your receivers more involved. So I think there's a lot of that in this game, and it would behoove, the Razorbacks to score early, be efficient on third down, and just take control of the game.
Tom, we appreciate your recap of the Texas win, and we'll do more of a preview of Georgia Southern on Thursday, buddy.
Outstanding. Talk to you.
It's that time of the year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all of the pro and college football action this season. Get all of the updated odds, props, and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest 200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Here's what you have to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager's going to be refunded for up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.